but going far beyond that. You see. Now, if everything, every finite being is actually in process of becoming, you see. Yeah. You see, in the first dialectical movement under logic, those categories, the concept of being is sheer abstraction, if by that you mean unchanging. The process of non-being is sheer abstraction. You move from those abstractions to the more concrete concept, becoming. You see. The more concrete it is, the more the comprehension of the concept. Okay. And it's not until the concept of being is amplified and fleshed out in the great overall synthesis that you finally get what being is in its fullest reality, namely absolute, all-knowing, completely free sovereign spirit. Hegel's absolute. So when he says about contradiction, that it's the moving principle of the world, he's not saying that the world is teeming with contradictions and that self-contradictory propositions are true. No. He's simply saying that in the process of history, things are changing. Sure. Does that relativize everything? Does it relativize ethics? Not for Hegel. Not for Hegel. We'll have to see why. Okay, do you want to pause there and reflect? Steve?
When you, this is going back to what you said quite a while back.
Yeah.
Where you had Napoleon as the center of history, all
yeah.
Napoleon, and then everything. Now, does he do that for every individual?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you raised that. Let me see, I'll take this off if you want it again, say. But I'm glad you raised that, Steve, because he does indeed, and I wanted to make that point. We have in, well, actually on this table of logic, let's see, where is it? No, I guess, yeah. Under logic 3, the concept, 1, the subject, and small 1, the initial immediate concept. Okay, at that stage in expounding the categories, he points out that, that concepts, and here's another triad, can be universal, particular, or individual. Well, you know that's the case already in ordinary logic. Universal, all men are mortal. Particular, some people are liars. Individual, Socrates is mortal. Okay? Individual. Now, what he's doing is pointing out that the universal concept, which you might come up with, is sheer abstraction. It's an abstract idea, is the traditional way of talking about it. It's an abstract idea. There are no real universals running around separately in some Platonic heaven. You see, it's abstract thought. On the other hand, the notion of particulars, isolated, discrete particulars of an atomistic sort, as in John Locke and Descartes and so forth, these little Lucretian atoms of thought, without any intrinsic connectedness to anything else. That is a further abstraction that stands in antithesis to the first abstraction. Thesis, antithesis. Reality, concretely, is neither universal in that sense nor particular in that sense. You're not an island. No man is an island. You see. We are what we are in relationship to everything around us. So that the individual, the concrete individual, you see, who is what he is by virtue of everything that is, every relationship that has fed into making Steve what he is, and everything that will go out from Steve, the history-shaping things that emerge, you see. All of that relationality is what defines your identity. You see. What you are doing as an individual, and what we all do as individuals, is to concretize universal possibilities. Now, the universal is simply abstract possibilities. And what we're doing is concretizing, realizing, actualizing those abstract possibilities. You see, all of history has had a potency gradually coming closer and closer to producing fruit for Steve Schoenhals. Now he's emerged. Yes. Now, obviously, the world historical figure like Napoleon is vastly different. Or the Winston Churchill, Gorbachev. Yes. But for every one of us, there's the same sort of thing. Who would you be if it weren't for those forebears who got together? Who would I be if my dad had married the other girl he was going with first? You know.
How can you tell, or when is the point of emergence?
Well, you sound as if there's a static point. Emergence is a process. It takes a long time.
It seems like it's static with that diagram over there.
Well, no, because actually, if I were to draw it accurately, remember a diagram is an abstraction too. The one would flow into the other, you see. No stop. No stop. Process change. So this is how he deals with the theory of universals, Steve. You see, are there abstract universals, concepts? Yes. Are there real universal potentials? Yes. Are there real universals? Well, only as they're concretized in individuals. The individual synthesizes, you see, these antitheses of universality and particularity. To concretize a universal is to actualize possibilities in particular ways. So his theory of universals is no, there are no Platonic universals, but there are embodied universals, incarnated universals. Which is sort of an echo of Aristotle in another way. Ryan?
If you were to take this like onto an atomistic level, would it be
Yeah.
kind of like what Leibniz conceptualized with the monad, in that they're affected, they're kind of like reflections of everything?
But not windowless. No, you see, the atomistic model of the 17th century was of pellets of matter that are indivisible and having no intrinsic relationship to any other. Now, he's rejected that. Leibniz is of individual units of force, windowless without any intrinsic causal relationship to anything else. And Hegel doesn't want that. The process is one of interdependence. Yeah. Think of it more as a biological process.
How is Hegel's monism different from Parmenides, so that
Yeah.
Parmenides, had problems with the process?
Well, yeah, remember that for Parmenides, the basic issue, or the basic theme, is that there is a way of truth and a way of illusion. Now, Hegel is not calling individuality illusion. He's not calling change illusion. You see? If you like, he has synthesized the two concepts of permanence and change. What's permanence? What's permanent? Form, structure, reason at work in history, the creative unfolding of the concept, the self-understanding of the absolute. Yeah. The structure of the process is there. But no, this isn't Parmenides saying individuals are illusory. Now, at the same time, when we get to his social philosophy, we'll begin to see that Hegelian thought tended to generate conservative political thought. And you can see why. Conservative political thought which views the state as having more significance than what we would call the individual. Italian fascism was a kind of neo-Hegelian political philosophy. The philosopher of Italian fascism was a man named Giovanni Gentile, who was Mussolini's Minister of Education for a while. And he was a Hegelian philosopher, neo-Hegelian. Now, don't equate fascism with Nazism. Philosophically, they're poles apart. Poles apart. Yeah. But that's the tendency. And in more ironic forms, you get conservative political thought coming out in Britain. So that Hegelianism provided a philosophical framework for certain kinds of political conservatism there. An emphasis on taking your place in society and doing your duty. We'll talk later of F.H. Bradley, British philosopher, who has a classic essay on ethics entitled My Station and Its Duty. And if you say it with a broad English accent, you begin to get the point. My station and its duty. You know, and you get the ideal of the person with his place in society, knowing his place and his responsibilities that come with that. Something that's unknown in American society with its fluidity. All right, let's see. Take a look at the outline on logic, would you, in the light of this. And notice the triads all the way down. You can't mistake them. If you think that quality and quantity are antithetical